Hello? Oh, we're going to get started. I know it's warm, and we're also live streaming. So we're going to get started. We'll have supper here shortly. And I ask if you guys can maybe encourage your friends and family to come on out. If you guys can drop a tweet to them or a text, really appreciate that. I'd like to ask our elder, John R. Prosper, if you can kindly come up and have us an opening prayer, please. Daryl's right there.
Thank you, Niscom, for bringing us all together here today.
Introduction, along with the Paqtnkek Chief and Council.
Thank you. Marcy Silot in a kujon ikhla nitilu Jamigma territory nitil. Just to say thank you to all my relations, elders, welcome, community members, various federal and provincial government representatives, chief and council, and youth. I'm the Director of Administration. I've been with Paqtnkek for almost 2 years now. My role with the highway development is limited, but I'd just like to welcome you to the presentations that we're going to be having today regarding the updates and presentations, as you will see through the various video streams, and would like to now welcome Chief and Council to make their opening comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Darryl. On behalf of Council, I'd just like to welcome everyone to this historic event. This meeting is the product of many years of discussions that have taken place with the federal, provincial, and the Paqtnkek government. Their previous leadership through Chief Gerard Julian, previous councillors that are no longer with council today, people like Councillor Robert Pictou, Councillor Trevor Gould, and others have worked diligently throughout the years, getting us to this closer point of an eventual vote on the highway project. There have been many challenges along the way from various areas. You can only imagine when you have two levels of government, federal and provincial. They have their own, legal experts, Department of Justice. They have their own surveyors, federally and provincially. But it has been the work of such a dedicated team throughout the years to really get this to the point where it is today, and there's a lot of people to thank in that regard. As you know, Rose has been key and critical in keeping movement with this team for a number of years. And we're coming to a critical junction here on the 13th of July when we're going to go for a vote. So the purpose of this meeting is to provide further detail and comments from council, from our youth, from community members, from government officials, from experts, consultants like Lee and Doug, from a legal perspective, on what essentially the highway project is about. And please, any question is a good question. So, this is what this meeting is about. It's to find out further information and to provide that information to you. We will be having a different format, a community cafe on July 10th, which we would provide another opportunity to go through things on a more intimate level. So with that, I just want to welcome you again to this very important meeting. It's good that we have a live stream on the go here. So hello to all our community members out in the digital, technological sort of land, wherever you may be, welcome. And so with that, I'd like to invite council to just provide any opening comments that they would like in this regard. You can either grab the mic or you can step up.
I'd like to welcome everybody here, all community members, ladies and gentlemen, Department of Highways, INAC, Aboriginal Affairs, and each and every one of you. I remember walking to Charlie Johnson's place when I was very young. I had to cross a pasture and walk across the river with these stones. And this is where Charlie Johnson lived. There was nothing there. And then one summer, a survey crew came through, they put in stakes, and they cleared all the land, and next thing you know, there was a Trans-Canada Highway that went right through our property. For the longest time, I remember, just walking up there to the bridge, fishing and stuff, and wondering what this was going to do to our community. And for the longest time, all it did was divide our land. And all we had was one-way access that was straight across to the other side. You couldn't turn left or right. And as we got older, we began, the new chiefs and councils that were in began talking about trying to develop the land on the other side. And they wanted to, many times, put a campground, a trailer park, or something for people to stop and stay for a while and maybe start a little business on the other side of the highway. But we didn't know what controlled access was, and that part of the highway had controlled access, meaning that all we could do was drive straight across and we couldn't turn left or right. So to begin or start a business on the other side, you needed to turn left or right. You had to get people to stop, but they're only allowed to drive right through. And it made no sense. And as years progressed, different chiefs and councils tried to change that, but there was no will with the government to do that. But lo and behold, as traffic increased and as the highway began to be twinned from Halifax onward to Glasgow, there was a need to twin the highway through here. And from there began the opportunity to talk with, highways, the federal government, provincial government, about, how are we going to develop this? Here's a chance for us to look at some of the dreams that previous chief and councils had, and certainly the last previous council was a major part in getting this going, and this new chief and council the past 2 years has brought it along quite far to a point where we are going to vote on giving up the right-of-way for the highway land so that it can cross and develop this overpass and the donut on each side. So I think it's something that's very important for our community. We went on a recent trip to New Brunswick. We went to Madawaska to visit that community and look at how they developed their land with a stretch of highway going through their property. And they had to negotiate and get some off-ramps so they could access the other side and get people to stop. And they basically, began developing their property on the other side. They had a very hard time because that land was all rock, and so they had to blast it with dynamite, and it was really costly for them to develop it so they could begin bringing in local businesses to their property. And they succeeded in, they have a casino, they have a major gas bar, a truck stop, and high employment. It really changed that community in a good way. And we talked and went through what basic ideas they had and the things they went through with their communities and how they, began to develop their property. So we went to another community, St. Mary's, which is not so far away. And basically they did the same thing. They had an opportunity to put an overpass within their property and access another piece of land and put in a few ramps where they could actually get people to turn off and stop within their community. And they developed it in a different way, but in the same way, they put in a gas bar and a small casino, and it brought employment to their community, and they also employed a lot of people from the local, city, Fredericton. So they lived close to other communities that were also poor and needed work, and they kind of all worked together, and they share a big part of keeping that center going and getting employed, and it's really brought a real good working relationship with the non-native community beside them and with the local city of Fredericton. And as you see what we have in Truro and Member 2 and Waikagama was probably one of the first communities to have the Trans-Canada go through their property, but it was going right through. There's no off-ramps or anything like that, so the traffic went right through. And they basically developed their property little by little, way before Millbrook and Member 2. But certainly we have an opportunity here, and it's an opportunity not only for us today, but it's a real opportunity for our children in the future, for all our young people that are in high school and getting into high school. I think it's a very important thing for them in the future to be able to, look at their future and their education and somehow be a part of what we want to do here in the community. And I think a big part of what we're doing is to have these discussions with our youth and any entrepreneurs in the community to help develop ideas and things that they may want to pursue in the future. Anyway, I want to thank you for giving this little opportunity to talk, and thank you for coming. And any questions, no matter what, we're free to answer in a good way. Well, all you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to the information information session. Kerry pretty well summed her up as far as, you know, where we hope to go, but just a little bit of my experience from when we visited Madawaska and St. Mary's, and certainly looking at member twos and Millbrooks of the world, just the opportunity that lays ahead of us. Many of us are going to universities, and it would be really nice to come upon that time when we're able to come home and really be able to fill some really good positions. It's, I spent a few years developing different proposals, but they're small scale in regards when you're looking at something with so much potential. Not only within businesses, but also with service industry. I can't say it enough, it just creates so much opportunity. Really appreciative of the previous councils that took the lead in this process, and I'm really so proud to see that we're almost there. Hopefully we see it as an opportunity for all and that we move forward with it. Sorry it's short, but thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our highway project information session. We have Dwayne Cross, who's sitting over there. He's from Department of Transportation. Dwayne's been working on this project with us, with our First Nation, since 2003, since our first meeting. And Lee Weatherby is sitting right over there with his hand up. He worked on our compensation package. And there's a few others. I just forget everybody's name. There's Judy from INAC, she's with the lands. And there'll be a question and answer period towards the end of our presentations. I'd like to say thank you to John R. with the opening prayer, and thank you for everyone for coming, and safe travels to everyone going back home. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, or we're getting to good evening soon. What I'd like to do is take this opportunity to thank you, past, present, and hopefully future chief and council that have been working on this venture. I'm new to it, but not new to the issue. I'd especially like to thank the Highway Committee. They've done a lot of work, and I've watched them work diligently over the last year and a half that I've been in council. I'm really hoping that we all take a really good look at what we're doing here and to realize that we are paving the road to the future of our children and our grandchildren. Other than that, I think that we can pave a road for ourselves while we're at it too, as making it easier for our children and grandchildren. So I'm hoping that everybody votes yes. That's all I can say about that. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank our Highway Committee and our folks, our visiting folks here for coming to share some information. I also want to thank our youth for being here. I'm very proud and very pleased to see them here, and for everybody that came. As everybody previously said, I want to give thanks to previous leadership for the vision and the consistency and determination that they had in us finally being on the cusp of this this great opportunity for Paqtnkek. And for all the people who are away, I'm really happy that this session is being live streamed so that we can share this information with them, because every vote matters and every vote counts in this referendum. It's very, very crucial. So I'm very pleased to see everybody here. I've had conversations. I was trying to pump people up about coming to the meeting today, and a lot of people said, you know, oh, I already know I'm going to vote yes, so I'm not going to go. And I'm really happy that you're going to vote and you're going to vote yes, but it's also important for us to be informed citizens. It's important for us to have the conversations about what's involved in the compensation. What is this actually entailing? And there's a lot of detail, and it's kind of like a bit of overwhelming detail. Even as a new council this year, it was a lot to really absorb a lot of that information. And so I'm really happy everybody's here, and I encourage you to share the information or share some of your thoughts and concerns, or all the opportunities that you want to see. We have some graphic facilitators here, so we'll be able to really capture that in a good way, and be able to share that with people who aren't able to be here. So again, I thank you for coming, and I look forward to this dialogue. Thanks.
Well, we're in that section of the agenda to talk about the highway vote, and there's a couple of things that I want to mention. As Molly mentioned earlier, a lot of people are saying yes to the vote and decided maybe not to come, but thankfully we do have a live video stream, so they're able to find out more specifics in terms of what has taken place. There are a couple of things that I just want to let you know, just to draw your attention to. Judy Crosman is the electoral officer for this referendum vote. It is recognized as a referendum because what it involves is what is referred to as a surrender of Indian lands. And the Department of Aboriginal Affairs takes that quite seriously, and there is a process for that to take place through the regulations of the Indian Act. And so that is administered through Aboriginal Affairs, and Judy Crosman being the electoral officer in that. So she's sort of taken a back seat with respect to this community meeting, because it's sort of our opportunity to bring things forward to community on a variety of perspectives involving this highway development project. But certainly, if you have any questions about the process for voting, the information that is needed, things of that nature, Judy is right there. Do you mind standing up, Judy? I just want to add that Judy has just been a welcome addition to this fabulous team that Rose has brought together. And her having previous experience in Madawaska dealing with their surrender, and as Councillor Carey mentioned, our trip there sort of opened doorways for us thinking about the possibilities for the future. As I mentioned, since this is involving Indian lands, the surrender of Indian lands, and there's also the transfer of privately band-owned lands, known as fee simple lands, involved within this compensation package, within this deal. There are a couple of things I just want to make note of. There's a high threshold, a high sort of bar we have to meet when we're talking about surrendering Indian lands, and that is what is called to be a double majority, as opposed to a simple majority. A simple majority is such that whoever shows up, you have a vote, yes or no, and hopefully you get a majority of people voting yes. In this instance, since it involves Indian lands, there is what is referred to as a double majority vote. And essentially what we're looking at is, since our numbers, and these are all updated until the day of the vote, we're looking at approximately 413. I'm just going to check with Judy on that, who are eligible to vote. So at a minimum, the first majority that we need is at least 208 people within our community to show up to vote. I know, you know, that doesn't seem like a high number, but when, as you might recall in a previous sort of session where we had then Chief Joanne Bernard speaking about a referendum that they went through, she really made a point at that session to get serious about informing people about this vote and encouraging people to show up and to vote. So, you know, so the minimum number of 208 people at least to vote, and then a majority of that number, the number that, in order for this to be successful, that will hopefully vote yes, is 105 members. So that's sort of the math, that's sort of the requirements that exist through the Indian Act and the Indian Act regulations. And, you know, this is one meeting, we will have another meeting, but through the Indian Act, there is a mandatory meeting that we need to have through those regulations. We're doing better than that. We're having 2 meetings, and obviously we had more than 2 meetings in the past. So I just wanted to sort of outline that to you. And just, Rose, do you want to add anything to that?
Hi, everyone. It's hot, eh? I usually don't do speaker notes, but memory's a little bad lately. But I just want to share my experience I've had here working as the EDO on this file. On July 10, 2008, the Paqtnkek community identified through a strategic plan that was done by the council and myself that the priority for Paqtnkek was highway access and to build their livelihood. And it's what the leadership, myself and staff and community all worked together to develop this vision that we now have and how we all can work on this vision together. I feel extremely excited. I had many moments of anxiety and even moments of anger. But all of us together were able to subsidize all that feelings and work on one goal, and that's an important milestone for our community. And now it is time for our community to make that decision if we're going to proceed forward. From 2008 today, chiefs and councilors, staff, community members, and the dedicated working group that we had started is still with us today. They have been a part of this major undertaking for Paqtnkek, all done tirelessly, and most of the time, all of us done it voluntarily. I feel inspired when I read a letter that I'm holding in my hand. This letter is dated back September 22nd, 1977, that the ongoing decisions and negotiations from Chief Peter Pirro, his counselors at that time, Annie Prosper and Linda Julian, and his Economic Development Committee led by George Marshall, worked hard to build and have these ramps and access done. At the time, the Indian Northern Affairs, EBS Miller, stated that they would only give them a small triangular piece of land that could be leased for commercial development across the highway now when you leave to go Heatherton, and only be selling Indian crafts. At that time, Chief Peter Pirro and his council said no, and that did not meet the fulfillment of the agreement that was drawn up in 1961. A letter from the Department of Indian Affairs on January 12, 1977, from the Indian Affairs Liaison Officer stated the Indians were not happy. And Chief Peter Piro replied to him, "No, we're not, but we're still going to build and sell whatever we want on that highway." So here we are. After many years of fights with Chief and Council, starting from Chief Peter Piro, this has come. As the Economic Development Officer, I have worked hard in liaison in developing a strong team of people and developing partnerships and bringing funding into the community to support this initiative. We have worked with the Chief and Council to not only just work, but also to reconcile and think about the best for the community. We all agreed we knew what not had happened, but we had to all think on how we were going to make it happen. Our community is a major location where it can access to all this traffic, build business, but also look at the landscape of our own community. Look around us now and you can see that we are running out of land. Look around us now and you can see the growing demographics of our community. And look around us now in the most dire need for more recreational space. And of course, the opportunity of stopping that traffic on that highway and making them come to Paqtnkek to do business. Of course, we are the center of opportunity, and we are the community that needs to be bypassed to enter Cape Breton and to enter Halifax. So it will be a goal to see Paqtnkek as a destination and not just that pit stop. We have a very highly educated community. As a recent study that was done by our Director of Education, we do have almost an 80 percentile rate of people that are educated in our community. We can't employ all these young people, and we also have these young people who want to start businesses. It's identified that we can make our own money and support our own programs with this development. And I commend the hard work and planning from our past Chief and Council, Gerard Julian, and his council. And the hard work continued, especially by the community members for taking part in all those sessions, taking part in the strategic planning, and really telling us where to go with this project. We put a lot of heart into this project. And some of our leaders are not here. But those leaders that were here clearly defined that they want to have a separation of politics to business. So from that plan, we followed through and started a plan of how we're going to separate business and politics, and we were going to develop our own Economic Development Corporation. The Economic Development Corporation develops these sustainable plans where we would take our own source revenue and not be totally reliable on federal Indian transfer funds from Indian Affairs. We've also went through the process of getting our landscape clean in the band office, making sure that we've taken financial administration seriously. So we went through a very extensive exercise, which included our staff from finance, thank you, Odious, and with our Chief and Council and our Director of Administration, that we take control of how we're going to get to a point where we're going to be having borrowing ability. Since then, we have become part of the First Nations Financial Management Board, and we are now the second Mi'kmaq community in this region to sit on that board. And we're proud to say that we are assessed at least borrowing up to $9.6 million for our first try to help with this development. Also, to take control of our lands, as that's in our mission statement, we also went through the extensive exercise of going through the First Nations Land Management Act. This act removes us from the Indian Act, where we have total control of our land, and that we will not be told how to manage our lands, but how we see fit how those lands will be managed. Along with Member 2, we are the only other Mi'kmaq community with this undertaken and all the demonstration of determination to develop our own community and develop our own wealth, and to be able to take care of our own community members. So like I said, it's time for the people to vote on a highway interchange development project. And come on out and vote on July 13th, 2017. And to those who have any questions and would like to have those questions asked, please come see me. Come ask me for a visit, whatever it takes for our people to fully understand what it is that we're taking on this major undertaking. It was, after all, you, the people of this community, that recognized that this project is a priority. And this is where it is now. For those past leaders who fought endlessly, and it is the faces of our children and our grandchildren that we need to really look and consider this decision. We don't need to rely on Indian affairs. We can do this with economic development. Thank you. Where did PJ go? So, the food is here, so we're slowly arriving. I'd like to ask our youth panel for today's session. Our first speaker is 16-year-old Marissa Julian. She resides at Beto, and she has a few words that she would like to share with the community. And I'm teaching them how to speak in public. Right here, it's all written down. I know, but he said he was going to say, never mind.
Okay, so if most of you guys don't know me, most of you do, but I'm Marissa Julian, my mom, and I'm 16 years old, and I was voted a couple years ago to be a part of Youth Council. I'm a Paqtnkek band member. I often hear how important youth are and the youth perspective in our community. Recently, I was asked how the highway project would impact the youth in our community or myself. From my experience of working off reserve at Tim Hortons in Beach Hill in Antigonish, I felt pride and proud to be Mi'kmaq working in our local town. I would love to feel and see this pride working on a reserve in retail. This project is a big deal. Even though I'm able to vote as a person is only open to age 18 and over, I'd really like to see the chance for our community to be the next big thing. We all need this, and if our youth are an important piece of this, I would hope everyone to support the project to create our own Tim Hortons, etc. On July 13th, vote yes to the Paqtnkek Interchange project. Thank you.
Oh, aren't you guys proud of the kids? The next speaker I would like to ask come up is Andre Julian. Andre Julian is a 17-year-old youth from our community and has been working on the Red Road project. Andre and Marissa also both sit with Paqtnkek as the youth council for this community and have participated in sessions with the municipality and also came with me to some meetings. So I would like to now ask Andre to come up and share his views on the highway project.
My name is Andre Julian. I'm 17 years old, but I'll be 18 in July for the vote. And I have participated in planning meetings as part of our youth council. And this planning included a lot of the future of Paqtnkek and how we will get there. I was asked how Paqtnkek Highway Project will impact our community and the youth. The youth population in our community is high and jobs are limited at this time. The project will be a chance for everyone, especially our youth of Paqtnkek, to have jobs, like after-school jobs. I traveled a lot for hockey from like Cape Breton and Halifax, and many parents are often in a rush to get gas and like other stuff that you can't really get yet. Paqtnkek will have the chance to be the stop and quick access on the highway to do this for passing motorists. This is a chance of our lifetime for the future. On July 13th, vote yes for the Paqtnkek Interchange project.
Good job, Andre. Last but not least is 20-year-old Kelsey Paul. She's here, right? Kelsey? Oh, yeah, she's right there. Kelsey has been working and going to school, but she also has a strong desire for entrepreneurship. Before I say any more, I'd like to invite Kelsey to come up and share a few words with the community on her views of the highway project.
My name is Kelsey Paul. I am 20 years old from here. I was asked how the Paqtnkek Highway project will impact our community and the youth. Well, I'm a youth who would like to have an opportunity to open my own business, which I already did. Over the years, I've taken part in startup businesses for myself and my peers. I would like to have my own business on the busy highway location. Entrepreneurship in certain businesses and development jobs is important for the youth. We can create our own wealth on this reserve, and people creating their own business on the highway would be pretty neat. This is a chance for our reserve to generate our own opportunities and revenues from the youth. I have seen what Member 2 and Millbrook have done with their opportunity, and this could be Paqtnkek as well if we all work together to get this going. This is a chance of a lifetime for our future and our youth. On July 13th, vote yes for the Paqtnkek Interchangeable Project. Thank you.
Oh, that's cute. Thanks. Thank you to our youth. I would also like to bring up that Kim Julian is here. Kim is our Deputy Electoral Officer for this vote. As the Chief mentioned, we do need a double majority for this vote. And I think the numbers were 413 eligible voters that can vote. Out of that 413 voters that are eligible to vote, we need 208 to vote. Okay. We had 413 voters. It's a double majority, so I know it sounds complicated. Trust me, I had to learn this a few times. We have 208 that can vote, and we need 105 people to vote in favor. So that's why it's very important for all of us to really, come together as a community and vote, because, we don't want to go to another vote. So we do need that 50% plus one. People ask what happens if we have to go to a second vote. Well, let's hope with the strength with our community we won't. But in a chance that we have to, we'll have to get that approval again by the minister in order to get a second vote. The second vote will require a simple majority, that is 50% plus one, of the electors who cast ballot vote in favor. So a second vote would include a duplication of time, money, resources, and everything similar to what we have to do for this first vote. I would really encourage all you band members and officers as well watching live to please read your packages. I know I went around with 2 packages. I went around with one with really nice color pictures and stuff. That was the more easier form with the Q&As. This one here has a copy of everything that we want to share with you, which comes from survey maps to our agreement, the compensation package, everything is all in here. So I know they're all been delivered around the house. If you don't have it now, Kim has some down back, and we also had some at the band office. So I know there was 3 houses I couldn't go to because I was scared of dogs, but I did inbox all of them on Facebook and told them to come meet me somewhere, so I gave them packages. So I'm a little scared of dogs, but Yeah. Please read the packages. It's 20 after 5. We're supposed to be having supper, but right now, I would like to run a special message from Chief Clarence Louie and the Sawyers First Nation on an Okanagan Indian band. Chief Clarence Louie had took his community out of poverty, and the reason for his interest on Paqtnkek is that their population is the same size as ours. He's been chief for 31 years, and he has a band population today of 520 people. And he has developed millions of dollars with his community. He's funded programs from education, housing, to building this community to a state-of-art winery, golf course, and a cultural center. I would now like to play the message that Chief Clarence Louie sent to our community, which was a great honor, and then we'll break for supper. Thanks.
It's a good day today, my relatives from back east. I'm Chief Clarence Louie from the Osoyoos Indian Band in South Central BC. Here at Osoyoos, we have more band-owned businesses, commercial activity than most First Nations in this country. Our 520 members have the opportunity for many, many jobs in a lot of different sectors. We have many, many land leases in residential, commercial, industrial projects on our reserve, mainly due to the fact that we have highway access. Because off of those highways, we have a golf course, we have our wineries, we have our campground recreational vehicle parks, we have 2 gas stations and stores, we have an industrial park, and we have a construction company, a cement company, and all of our businesses depend on highway access, and it creates hundreds and hundreds of jobs for band members and non-band members and band members' spouses, and it brings in millions of dollars of income to the Osoyoos Indian Band, which we use for all our programs and services. So I hear that your First Nation is going to have a vote coming up in July. That vote could be a game changer for your First Nation. You have to realize that any time in business you have highway frontage, that's a home run. That is so critical and so important. Because in business, there's a rule that will never change, and it's location, location, location. First Nation businesses need highway property. They need highway frontage. They need highway access in order so that customers can come to your businesses that you run. And in order to attract businesses to your First Nation, you need highway properties. Without highway properties, your First Nation will never be independent from the crumbs from the Department of Indian Affairs. That's why my recommendation, if you have a chance to get provincial highway access, you should do it. I mean, it's a no-brainer when it comes to business. And business isn't just about making money. Business is about opportunities for your youth, opportunities for your band members. And I want to thank Rose Paul for calling me on this and asking me to say a few words to her First Nation. Rose has been working many, many years on this project, and as I have on many projects on the Osoyoos Indian Reserve. And I love it when I hear that a band has a chance for economic growth. I love it when I hear a First Nation has a chance to get highways properties and have a chance to get out from under the control and the dependency of the Department of Indian Affairs. I wish you your res economic success. And in this upcoming vote, as I mentioned, this upcoming vote is going to be a game changer for your First Nation. So best of luck, and I want to commend the Chief and Council for bringing this forward. And I know it's a lot of hard work, and of course, it's a decision. It's decision time, as it should be. Because your community is going to have a chance, if you guys vote in favor of this, you're going to look back and see this was a game changer for your First Nation.
It's lunchtime.